Where'd it go? Oh no. Did it get left over there? Where did I put it? Oh. Ah, there it is. Sitting on it. I don't know, it's behind me. So one of the greatest things about the Canon EOS R lineup is the RF glass. This is fantastically sharp, so tack on. This, however, comes in at about $1,000 to get for just the f4 version of the 24-105. So today we're going over, does a $100 lens add any value to your kit and what you can do with it? So we're gonna go over that. We're gonna show you the pictures right now and see if you can tell the difference. So that was all the photos. Was there anything that surprised you? I know that for me, the NIFTY 50 does a really good job doing its one thing, which is blurring the background, and the RF glass is insanely sharp. So let's get back into these photos and I'll describe to you exactly what was going on in them. So the first set of photos here, we have the 50 on the left-hand side and the 24-105 on the right-hand side at 105 millimeters, and that was to blow out the background as much as possible, because the more narrow your actual focus is, the more blown out the background is. And as you can see, the 50 millimeter is still more blown out than the 24-105. This next one was almost the exact same framing. I really did try there, but the left-hand side is a 24-105 at f4, and on the right-hand side, as you can see, much more creamy, the 50 NIFTY 50. And you can hardly even tell that these are buildings in the background, whereas on the right-hand side, you can definitely tell that those are buildings. The next up is the NIFTY 50 on the left-hand side at 108, and the right-hand side is the 24-105 at 50 millimeters. And as you can tell, obviously, way more blown out background, way larger, like the spheres are much larger coming off of these windows. However, once again, it is so much more sharp. All the textures retained in Julia's jacket. The next one was different framing. For the NIFTY 50 is still the exact same photo, and on the right hand side, this is the 24-105 at 105 f4, so blowing out the background a little bit more. But the biggest difference is the buildings. The buildings don't even come close to Julia's shoulder on the NIFTY 50. However, in the right hand side, they look like they are right behind us, even though they're across the bay. So this next one is both shot at f4, where the first one is the 24-105 at 50 millimeters shot at f4, and as you can tell, it's still kind of bland. It's not really entirely creamy in the background, but the NIFTY 50 at f4 still has that creamy, blown out look, even at f4. Now the bottom one is also, once again, the exact same thing, where the left-hand side is the NIFTY 50 shot at f4, and the right-hand side is the 24-105 50 millimeter at 50 millimeters with f4. And as you can tell, once again, it is much more blurry in the background at f4 with the NIFTY 50 than it is in this one right here with the 24-105 being at f4. And I think this is because there's simply just more glass for the light to get through before it gets to the sensor. So let's go into Lightroom. I'll show you the photos, and we're going to actually be comparing them for a few different attributes. We're going to go for the color, we're going to go for texture, we're going to go for retention in the highlights and the shadows, and then finally we're going to go for portraits, which is how sharp the eyes are. Let's do this. So what we're going over is to see about the highlights and the shadows in these, and then see how sharp it is on the eyes. Those are the biggest things we're going to be going over, and then I'll show you the background blur stages while using the NIFTY 50. So let's go in here. This is first with the 24-105, and we're pretty much just going to mess with exposure, and that's it. So you're going to see right in here the highlights and how much it's retained in that sky. As we turn the exposure down, you can see that tree comes back. And right there, you get some of the details up there in the sky, but you get a lot of the tree back. And then coming down into, let's see here, how much of the detail is retained in there. So pulling that down. And then if we come down here to a place like this, where it's pretty much shadows, we'll see how much of so yeah, it still retains a bunch of information in there as well. And obviously that's blurry. You can come here, how much of it retains all of that sharpness. And we're going to look into this one on the textures, is that you can see so much of the individual little strands that compose the fur of this jacket. And we're going to come over to a 50mm, and you'll see that it does not retain nearly as much of the details as what the 24-105 RF glass does. So right here, what we have is we're going to do the exact same thing again. We're going to turn down the exposure, and you see the trees come back. And then over here, we'll see, zoom in again, right there, so all that. So there's less detail than before. And then when we come in here, you're going to see that there's significantly less of the detail in the fur and the color retained after going through the 50mm just retains so much less of that information than this one right here. So we'll do them side by side. So right there is the 24-105, and this is the 50. So you can see it's just a little bit more grainy. Nothing changed. Man, why do these keep switching spots? So right there and right there. And you can just see that there's a little bit of loss of quality with the 50mm. Now we're going to come over to the, right here is, oh, that was a ton of chromatic aberration right there coming around these trees. You get less of that with the 24-105 as well. So this is the 50mm, and this is going to show you the different levels of blur as you go through. So this is the 50mm at 1.8, 2.0, 2.2, 2.5, 3.2, 3.5, and 4. And like I said, this at f4, the 50mm, will still have more background blur than the 24-105, even zoomed in all the way to 105. We didn't go over the eyes, did we? We need to go over the eyes right here. So zooming into the eyes for this one right here, you can definitely see they're incredibly sharp for the 24-105 right there. Very sharp. And here for the 50, they aren't quite as sharp, but it's also because the lens is not as sharp. And so you're going to run into a little bit of problem with sharpness, as I said before, with the 50mm. What you're trading off is the 50mm will give you that background blur that you want, and the 24-105 will give you incredibly crisp images that are just so tack sharp, that retain so much texture and so much color through that glass that it is incredible. This, however, gives you more background blur and gives you, let's see here, it gives you about 2 and some change extra stops of light to work with. If you're going to be using this, there's a link down in the description. You can pick it up on Amazon. I will get a little bit of commission, and you're going to need this adapter to be able to shoot with your NIFTY 50. This goes on the EOS R, and it allows you to be able to take EF glass, which is what this NIFTY 50 is, and put it on here and then attach this to the EOS R. And that's going to allow you to mount any of your EF glass that you already have. And the upside of that is EF glass is, there's a lot of it, and you can buy it secondhand for significantly reduced prices in comparison to buying brand new glass. So if you want to pick up any of these items that we talked about, there's a link in the description below. My name is Daniel, and on this channel we go over everything mirrorless Canon cameras. Check us out, like, subscribe, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. My name is Daniel. I'm out.